guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new I Don't Work Here Lady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Elderly Woman Asks Me to Help Her Find a Nursing Bra. This happened about 5 years ago or so. I took my infant son with me shopping at Walmart. I decided to cut through the women's clothing section aisle to bypass a few straggling shoppers taking up the main aisle when I was stopped by an elderly woman. This woman tried to speak to me, but was having some difficulties as her English wasn't all that great. We have a lot of different ethnic groups in my community, and due to my job, I have to interact with people who can barely speak English frequently. I'll paraphrase what she said to me to make the story quicker. Woman, can you please help me? I'm looking for a nursing bra. Me, confused as to why an elderly woman needs a nursing bra. I'm sorry, I don't work here and don't know where they are, but they should be in this general area. Woman, please, can you please help me? Store staff won't help as I don't speak English well. FYI, the majority of staff at this store are from her origin country, so either they are totally North Americanized and know little about the language of their family, or they just didn't want to help her. Me, trying to wrangle my son into sitting properly in my arms as he didn't want to sit in his car carrier. I'm sorry, I don't know where to find them and I don't work here, but I can help you look. Woman, oh thank you. Thank you. My daughter just had a baby and she asked me to get her a nursing bra. I don't even know what it is. I explained what a nursing bra was as I helped her look. Eventually, I found them, as the undergarment section wasn't labeled correctly. Where a sign said nursing bras were located was actually socks. No big reno or revamp here, just laziness. Woman, can you please help me find her size? She says she normally wears XXX, but she has grown since then. Me, not surprising growing that little one in her. Unfortunately, I don't know what size she would be now, but this one here says it's more adjustable for women normally her bust size. I'd recommend getting your daughter to try it on before removing the tags and exchange it if she needs a size up or down. Woman, oh thank you. I knew when I saw you that you would be a big help. I saw your baby in your arms and knew you could help. Staff here aren't very nice. Her grandchild and my son now go to school together. Same class this year, apparently. We ran into each other the other day and she remembered me. The next story is titled, Make a Mess of My Car, Get Messy Yourself. I was on my way home after a very long day working at the hospital. As much as I would have rather just kept driving, the gas light blazing away on my dash pulled me to stop being lazy and just fill the tank. After hopping off the highway, I head for the small station I frequently use. It only has 2 pumps, both sides, so 4 spots. Even though it has great prices, I rarely have to wait more than a car or 2 for an open spot. Other than the station, the road is pretty much empty nearby. The station was on my side of the road, so I turned on my right-hand directional. As I begin to turn the wheel into the station, this lunatic in a Mercedes, coming from the other direction, sliced through the outlane and inches across my front bumper to beat me into the parking lot. I slammed on my brakes, sending my gym bag and a stack of folders shooting off the passenger seat into jumbled mess on the floor. I am not a big swearer, but that had me cussing like a sailor. As I pulled in, I noticed a police car in a parking spot outside the building that houses the cashier and the tiny convenience store. My hopes rose as I prayed the officer saw the crazy lady's stunt and I was about to witness instant karma. No such luck. Sigh. She pulled to one side of the pumps. I pulled to the other. I got out, swiped my card, and started the gas flowing. Then, clear as a bell, I hear the snottiest sounding voice issuing from the Mercedes. This is unbelievable. I was clearly here first, but this idiot is filling up the other car first. No, he hasn't even started me yet. I swear these people are stupid as S***T out here. Hold on, Shelley. I have to deal with this moron or I will be here all day. Now the dreaded "excuse me" is aimed right at me. You know you don't need to wait for the tank to be full before you start another car. Now, come here and take this. She said, waggling a credit card at me. If I am late because of you, I will be calling your boss. And just so you know, it is very rude to service customers out of order. I was here ahead of that guy. I looked down and sure enough, she has a New Jersey license plate. In NJ, you don't pump your own gas, an attendant does it for you. My state may have a few full service stations left, but honestly I haven't seen one in ages. Here, you pump for yourself. If she had gotten out of her car, she would have seen I was that guy, but the pump blocked her line of sight. I considered an "I don't work here" lady-style response, but the primped-up entitled expression on this self-absorbed "be" required more from me. She stared harder at me, raising her brows, and waggled the card even more emphatically. Before I knew what to do, I let go of my pump, stepped closer, and took the card from her manicured fingers. As she sneered at me, I looked her right in the eyes and snapped my hand downward, flinging her card straight into the trash barrel beside the pump. Someone must have thrown a slushie or milkshake in there, because the card made an awesome splat sound when it hit the bottom. The harpy shrill screech that ensued made the thought of sorting out all the files on the floor of my car almost worth it. It could have stopped there and I would have happily driven away with my half-full tank, but it was not over yet. She was screaming obscenities at me as I turned away, roiling out the Mercedes in her designer outfit, completely losing her mind. That was when the officer came dashing out of the store. "Excuse me, miss, are you all right? What is going on?" "This man assaulted me and stole my card. He threw it in there," she says, stabbing a 3-inch long nail at the barrel. "Is that correct, sir?" "Barely." She insisted, and I mean insisted, I take her card. Since I am under no obligation to provide her service with the card, nor did I want it, I disposed of it in the most expedient manner available to me, I replied, gesturing at the wonderful trash receptacle myself. "That was a pretty petty thing too. I think you should get it for her," the officer decreed. The NJB was beaming with smug malice at that. "I will, under one condition. You detain us both, then go look at the store's parking lot camera. Once you see how we entered the lot, you can decide who goes dumpster diving." He raised a brow at me but says fine. He takes our licenses and tells us to both to wait there. She is a bit perplexed at first, but her natural entitlement must have convinced her she has to be in the right. It is not long before she began to hiss a handful of pretty vile threats at me. I ignored her and finished filling my tank. My passive smiling confidence must have unnerved her eventually. She crept back into the driver's seat and began talking about lawyers with Shelley. About 20 minutes later, the officer returned. He handed me back my license and told me I'm free to go. Before New Jersey can get a word out, he very sternly rounds on her and said, "Registration, ma'am." Needless to say, afterwards she took a nice dumpster dive to get back her card, which did not really suit her designer outfit and a fancy car. The next story is titled, "Someone Followed Me Through Walmart." I was wearing a Target shirt. I went to Walmart after work today, I work at Target, to get a car battery. When they didn't have what I needed, I began to make calls to other auto parts stores in the area. I'm very clearly on the phone, with an air filter under my arm, in my bright red shirt, meandering through the sporting goods section. As I'm speaking, this woman walks kinda close to me, says nothing, so I turn the other way and walk down another aisle. Then I see her out of the corner of my eye, just trailing me wherever I went. The second I hung up the phone, she comes up to me in a huff, going through her purse, and I almost thought she was going to pull out a Jesus card, and says, "I want to visit with your store manager." It took every bit of my soul not to say, "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's." But I told her I didn't work there, and she turns around to yell at the actual employee about why I didn't help her. I gave him the look of understanding and sympathy. We nodded at each other, and I faded into the distance. The next story is titled, "You Thought I Was an Employee." This one isn't the typical "I don't work here" stories, and you will see why soon. My mom and I were out of town, and I said I wanted to pick up some makeup since we don't have a Sephora in my town. We went in the store and my mom asked me some questions about the makeup brand I was eyeing. An employee talked with us a couple of minutes, then went to help other customers. A lady walked up to the same brand, stood around looking at products for about a minute while I was talking to my mom, then asked me a question about the formula. Me, being interested in the chemistry of makeup, was happy to tell her what I knew. The sales lady came and walked up to the lady. "Hi. Can I help you with anything?" Lady, "No, thank you." Lady then says in a slightly annoyed tone, "Are you trying to take her commission?" Confused, "But I work here, ma'am." It was then I realized the lady thought I was an employee. I don't know why though. Sephora employees wear all black, and it suddenly dawned on me I was in all black. Sephora employees are almost always made up though, which I was. Me? "Oh, no, I don't work here." The lady looks at me and the employee and starts apologizing profusely. "Lady, I'm so sorry to bother you." Me? No problem, I didn't realize I looked like an employee. We all have a laugh and she and the employee start talking. Not a dramatic story, but I thought I would share. The next story is titled Management Material. The men in my family have been blessed/cursed with premature aged hair. Whether this is premature balding, graying, or both, we start showing signs of being a mature male in our hair, in our early teens at our latest. On top of this, I'm a teacher and have been told that this gives me a very commanding posture when I am talking to people. I'm explaining this because I have been confused for a manager at most places, that I work because people assume the older male is a manager. I don't work at Lowe's. I have never worked at Lowe's. And in my life, I've probably only been to /this/Lowe's like 5 times. I am currently at Lowe's in search of items to build a pet project of mine. A massive D20, over 2 feet in diameter, that can be thrown around and not cause physical damage if a child is hit. As I'm discussing things, like different foams to use for the sides, different types of skeletal support, if stuffing it would help or hurt, and how to support the corners, I am steadily gaining more and more Lowe's employees around me as they ask each other for their different experiences. About 5 minutes go by, and while they do their best to assist me, we finally get to the point that their idea well has run dry. Eventually, I realize that they don't feel comfortable leaving without me giving them permission to go away. Thank you for your help, guys. I think I've gotten everything I need from you. Now I'll have to make some of my own decisions, I state more or less, letting them relax and disappear into various parts of the store like the chain phantoms they are. Finally, comes an exasperated voice, which was housed by an irate woman who was a haircut away from being a photographic example of a Karen. Before I can say anything, this woman comes towards me in a huff, literally dragging one of the store employees by his sleeve. This poor college-age boy who had probably thought that a job at Lowe's wouldn't add to his stress level when going to college gives me the look of someone who thinks he's about to be executed. I don't know what that woman had said to him, but he was clearly reconsidering all of his life choices up to that point. "Sir, I want you to know that your employee," she states, tugging on the boy's shirt, "has been disrespectful and completely incompetent." This caused an aha moment for both myself and the employee. I thought I had said or done something to annoy this woman, and she was going to complain about me to the nearest employee. And the employee thought she was bringing him to her husband to get a secondary tongue lashing. "Up, man," the boy started, which drew daggers from the woman's eyes. But before he continued, I raised my finger at him and gave him the same face I give my students when we both know they're being stupid. "You will have your time to talk in a moment. I'll handle this for now," I state before turning to the Karen. "I'm sorry that you had a bad time, ma'am. I'll handle this situation from here. If you need further assistance, please feel free to go up to one of the front desks and explain your needs to them. They'll get you some further assistance." Finally, she states, practically preening on the fact that she's ruined someone's day. With a flip of her hair, she then marched out of the aisle the 3 of us were occupying. I wait until she turns the corner before looking at the employee. "We both know that I don't work here, right?" He nods, unsure of what's going to happen. I shake my head and roll my eyes. "Welcome to retail. Take a small 5-minute break, and hopefully, she'll be gone before you're back on the floor." I then give him a grin. "That's an order from your manager." I could see the weight disappear from his shoulders as he takes a deep breath. 1/2 PVC pipe, I ask, having forgotten where I was instructed to go from the last conversation I had. 2 aisles over that way, he says, pointing. "Thanks." I respond before walking away and hoping I left the employee with a slightly better day. The next story is titled IT, but not here. I work in information technology and my work shirt says so, but also has my company logo. Many years ago, at a store that sold computers, I was helping my sister buy a new laptop and showing her the various features of different ones after work, so I'm wearing my work polo. A lady comes up on the other side of me and asks me a simple question about computers, and so I answer it and go back to talking to my sister. The lady again interrupts and asks another question, which I answer and go back to my sister. The third interruption is to ask about discounts or coupons applying to certain ones, or something like that, and I say I don't know. She says, "Could I go ask someone?" Which is when my sister, a bit less patient than me, says, "He doesn't work here. Go ask them yourself." The lady shushes her. "Nonsense, he's wearing their uniform." Which is the moment I realized that my work shirt was the same color as the store uniform. I turn fully toward her and pointed out the logo of my well-known company and say, "It's just a coincidence. I actually work for IT at company, and we happen to have the same color shirt." Instead of apologizing or being embarrassed, she exclaimed, "Well, why are you in here selling computers to people?" My sister exploded, "He's not. Duh." While I at the same time said, "She's my sister." Hearing two people at once, I guess she heard neither and cursed at us and marched off. "You don't have to be so effing rude." My sister gave her some choice words, and then we laughed and laughed. My sister still brings it up from time to time whenever she thinks I'm being too patient with people. Usually being patient pays off, only sometimes not. The next story is titled, "I work at this store," but this is not the store to ask those questions. I am not 100% this story fits this sub. If there is a better sub for it, let me know. I worked at large U.S. home improvement chain, 2 guesses and 1 is right, in the lumber and building materials department. However, I would regularly have to go back and forth to customer service desk to drop off online orders and pick up returns, passing other departments including the front of the store, which has seasonal items. One time early spring, I was walking back from the customer service desk by the display of seeds and bulbs and potted starter plants, and a young couple stopped me. They say they just bought a house and are planting their first garden and want to grow things to make salsa. So they asked me what to grow that will be good in salsa and how many of each to get, basically asking me the recipe for salsa with correct proportions of ingredients so they can grow farm to table. All they knew for sure was to get tomatoes, but asked, "What else should we get?" I am a little dumbfounded and at first think you should ask a chef, but actually make my own salsa sometimes, and I'm glad to help. I say, of course, get a couple different tomato varieties, but also white onions, green onions, garlic, different pepper varieties based on how hot you want to make it. Maybe some other spices like oregano and thyme. I don't remember exactly, but I remember saying the most important ingredient is cilantro, and make sure they get a bunch of that. I also give recipe advice to say how to cut and add right amount of salt, pepper, and other spices. I help them pick out the exact quantities of seed packets, bulbs, and plants, but I'm obviously not an expert on both yields of the seeds/bulbs/plants, as well as salsa recipe quantities, but do my best. They did thank me a bunch, but I kind of feel bad both that they asked me instead of someone else, and that I probably did not give 100% accurate botanical and culinary advice. I did learn one thing that day. People respect the apron and assume you pretty much know everything about everything if you wear it. The next story is titled, "In which 3 different people in 3 different places in one day ask if I work there." This happened a few days ago, right before Halloween. I was going to a party that evening and needed to get a few things. This tale begins with me wearing dark blue jeans and a slightly dressy black collared shirt not tucked in with a pattern on it. The first occurrence was in a party supply store. I was heading toward the mask aisle and a woman started asking me where something was before asking if I worked there. I told her no, she apologized, and I said it was no problem, I get it all the time. I went about my business. The second occurrence was in a Macy's in a different city. I was there to get a few things, and at the moment in question was waiting in the men's shoe section for an actual employee to come back with a couple of adjacent sizes of a pair of shoes I like for me to try on. 2 younger men who'd been looking at some things down the way walked toward me, and one asks if I worked there. I said no, and told him that the lady who did would be back in a moment, and also that he was the second person that day to ask me if I worked somewhere. They go off somewhere, she comes back, and I go about my business. The third and final occurrence was at the party. I had since changed into a suit, semi-formal attire, and I was hanging out by one of the DJ dance floors. A guy comes up and asks me a question about the VIP area, which is behind where I'm standing. I told him I wasn't sure what the answer was, and then he asked if I worked there. I told him no, but we talked for a minute about his question anyway. He mentioned again that he thought that I worked there, and I told him that he was the third person that day who had asked me that. He very smoothly said it must be because of how good I looked and walked away. I've had people think I work at a place relatively often, but even though I think of it every time it happens, I haven't felt that any of those instances rose to the level of something to post here. But I've never had a cluster like this happen before. Must be my handsome face. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.